Hey Fundraiser, I'm Mary Peterson, and this is Hey Fundraiser, the podcast for development professionals who are done guessing and ready to build a major gift program that actually works. Every week, I bring you the tactics, the language, and the real-world strategy to close bigger gifts, deepen donor relationships, and lead with confidence. Whether you're a one-person shop or a seasoned major gift officer, if you're ready to stop hoping and start engineering, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey Fundraiser, I'm excited that you tuned in today because we have such an issue on our hand. And you're here, and that tells me that you're super serious about keeping our amazing major gift officers in the field and in their jobs. I mean, think about a time when you left a job or when somebody you absolutely adored at work or who worked for you left because of anything, toxicity, external circumstances, weirdness happening with the board. Like there's so many things that could go wrong and get in the way of fundraising. And it's really difficult because your fundraising is one of the most important functions of a nonprofit. And so often it just gets derailed. Uh, It's criminal, actually. But then there's like the counter offer trap. So, research consistently shows that most people who accept a counteroffer actually still leave within a year. And what that tells me is that it's not about the money. So, a lot of times the counteroffer is, we'll increase your salary, we'll give you more time off. And they don't really fix the thing that actually needs to be fixed. So, it's a bit of a band aid. And then the person leaves anyway. I used to have a woman who worked for me, and she was a rock star, solid fundraiser. And she ended up leaving because of all kinds of internal turmoil that was out of my hands and even out of my boss's hands. It was just kind of a mess. And I remember, I mean, she was so effective. She was raising tens of millions of dollars every year. And donors were so disappointed. I mean, I tried so hard to keep her. She didn't stay, which of course I respected, but I mean, I would go meet with her donors after she left, and they would say to me, like, I can't believe Karen's gone. And they would say, like, we worked with Karen for 10 years. Like the relationships are deep, and it's so hard when people leave and the circumstances are out of your control. But what I want to talk to you about today is when the circumstances are in your control. And then when development officers do stay, they they get promoted and promoted and promoted, like the super effective ones. And then they're hardly fundraising anymore. And so you actually lose revenue there because that person out isn't out in the field anymore. Like it's a really hard conundrum that we're dealing with. And with all the research that I've done, the average tenure of a frontline fundraiser before they move on to the next job is 16 to 18 months. I have no words. Like now you've heard me on the podcast before. I don't think it should take you 18 months to close a major gift, but still you're just getting into the stride. You've just experienced a full year with your donor pool in your portfolio and then you leave. Like then Penelope Burke, who if you don't know who she is, she's a queen and you should read her books. She estimated that the direct and indirect cost of replacing just one fundraiser is $128,000. That is HR looking at resumes, it's posting the job, it's hiring a search firm, it's you and your team interviewing people, and meetings are expensive when you have a bunch of people, trying to wait, but you want those people in because the internal culture is so important. It is expensive. It's expensive to lose someone. And that is not even counting the relationships and a lot of just knowledge, like nuanced knowledge about donors that's walking out the door. And then another stat that I ran across was it can take 18 to 24 months. That's the amount of time like fundraisers consistently report for a successor to rebuild donor trust. and like rebuild the pipeline. So think about this. If it takes 18 to 24 months to rebuild a pipeline, but people leave at 16 to 18 months, like it is a terrible, vicious cycle that is just oy vey, like a criminal. So I want to teach you today all my tips and tricks for keeping your best people. Like this, it's so important. So you might not know this, but over the last 10 years, I have been studying over 1,000 major gift officers. How do they spend their day? What is their portfolio size? How many asks do they make? How many do they close? What do they ask for? Like all the things. And here's the gist. I've learned over the last 10 years that portfolio size is shrinking. Last year, the average portfolio size for these major gift officers was 71. Now, you might be listening and thinking, what? Like my portfolio is 171. Well, 71. And the reason that they have a portfolio of 71 is because you want to be able to create a meaningful experience for as many people in your portfolio as possible. Like I know I'm stating the obvious, but let me twist it up for you for a second. So there is a thing called a coverage metric. And I used to call it penetration, and then I decided not to do that. We're going to call it coverage. Okay, so the coverage metric says that 80% of your major gift portfolio has a meaningful touch every quarter. Well, if your portfolio is, let's even say 150 people, you're making a millimeter of progress on 150 fronts. Let's just call a spade a spade. This group of 1,050 major gift officers, even with a portfolio of 71, they had 77% portfolio coverage, meaning that 3 out of 4 people had a meaningful conversation, touch point, move, whatever you want to call it, with their with of the 71 in the last quarter. And that's like moving the relationship forward. When you can't meet that 80% coverage metric, your portfolio is too big. Now, these major gift officers also make 14 to 20 asks a year. So if we're going to ask, let's just say 20, we're going to close 20 major gifts this year. Why do we need a portfolio of 150? A portfolio, like pick your top 50, like go deep. Now they closed 10 major gifts and their average commitment was around $200,000. So I'm putting that out there because if you overload your fundraisers and they can't create relationships, they're tied to their desks, putting in contact notes. There's months and months and months in between contacts with donors, and it just feels awful. Then they don't stay. So I tell you all this to say, focus and clarity is a beautiful thing for fundraisers. So if you're asking your fundraisers to go after 150 or 200 people, it is really difficult. You cannot be successful. And if you don't set your fundraisers up to be successful, they will not stay. So let's take a minute. Let's just think about why your best people really leave. Now, in an exit interview, people say, oh, I have a better opportunity. That is rarely the whole story. Top performers leave over how they're led and how they're allowed to work. Money is usually the excuse. It is not the reason. So I'm just going to rattle off 5 reasons that are just top of mind. There are others. And I'm sure as you listen to these 5, you're like, oh, you forgot this. And I know fundraisers, they're out there. But first and foremost is that goals are set at them, not with them. So a lot of fundraisers get this number that's handed down with no connection to actual pipeline measurement. Create your goals with your fundraiser and make them realistic so they can actually attain goal. As a fundraiser, we want to meet goal. The years that I did not meet goal were torturous. And so you have to set a goal that a fundraiser can actually meet. The second thing is activity policing. So I see way too many fundraisers who know how to fundraise, micromanaged in really weird ways. Like one of my coaching clients, we fixed this for her, but one of my coaching clients, she was she had to make 50 calls a month. And I finally, and you know, that's great. I mean, if you have 50 people that you need to call and you're going to call them, fantastic. I finally just convinced her supervisor, instead of micromanaging the call count, let's let's look at the trusted outcomes, right? Like we don't wouldn't you rather her, you know, this fundraiser, wouldn't you rather her make 10 awesome calls than like 50 rando calls? Like, yes. So the activity policing, and really this is done by board members and others who don't know fundraising. And that's the kind of the scary part. So as far if you aren't a fundraiser and you're listening to this podcast because you want to keep your fundraisers, here is my humble advice. Give them their budget, revenue, and expenses, and then step to the side and watch them shine. Okay, the third thing is no visible next step in their career. I mean, fundraisers, we are social, we are fun, we want to be promoted, we want to work hard. And if there's no path, then you shop around town and it gets easier to listen to those calls. I mean, look, we're all on LinkedIn. Your fundraisers right now are being recruited. And if there's no visible next chapter, then those recruitment emails get easier and easier to respond to. The next thing, this is also criminal, is that a lot of fundraisers are literally like tied to their desks. They have nothing new to say to their donors because they're so busy doing administrative work that even when they have 20 minutes to call a donor, it's like, wow, I haven't been out to see a program in forever. Like, I don't even know what I need to say. And so let your fundraisers go. Like, you really shouldn't see your fundraiser that much. They should be out and about. And then the last one that's just on a list here that I have is a lot of times, and I've seen this too much, is actually being punished for success. So let's say you as a fundraiser crush your goals. Well, then next year they're like, oh, well, if she can raise $4 million, next year we're going to ask her to go for 6 million. And instead of like just celebrating that win and making the next logical step up in the goal setting with your fundraiser, what happens is you just get more piled on you and more work and a higher goal and a higher goal and a higher goal, and nothing else changes. So in a weird way, you get punished for being super successful. So a lot of times in the exit interviews, people are in fundraisers. We never want to burn bridges. I mean, we literally are in the business of building relationships. So it's not an easy thing to tear down a relationship. So in an exit interview, you're going to be very diplomatic. Most fundraisers are, and they're going to say, oh, I just have a better opportunity, or, you know, and that's really not the case, fundraiser. And I would rather tell you the truth because I want you to keep your major gift officers. So set goals with them. Don't police their activity, especially if you're not a fundraiser. Figure out the next visible chapter. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Unlink them from their desk. If they don't get all their actions in by month end, that's okay. And don't punish them for success. Celebrate it. So there are four big, almost pillars that your major gift officers are already measuring you against. And spoiler alert, none of them have to do with giving them a raise because, again, money is not the issue. So here's the first thing: professional development. Your best people are already being recruited. The question is whether they're growing fast with you and where they are, and they have the opportunity to grow and spread their wings, or can they be easily attracted to another job? So, professional development, you have to invest in their growth before they go looking for it. And so I would highly recommend that you put together a real professional development budget for them. I mean, it doesn't have to be massive. Send them to a conference that they want to go to. There are coaches and mentors out there through AFP, through CASE, through AHP that really your membership kind of help pay for. The other thing is give them stretch assignments. I mean, allow them to help with campaign strategy. Like that's a really awesome reward for somebody who is like rocking their fundraising goal. Or let them present at a board meeting or have a seat at the planning table. Like these are some of the like career growth paths that you can give instead of like being like, oh, let's give her a bigger portfolio or a better title. Most of the time you don't need to do that. You need to just give them interesting ways to engage with the organization that's a step up from what they're currently doing. Also, when you go to growth opportunities through professional development, you get to meet your peers. We, again, so social, so fun, want to be out there, want to know what is going on in the sector and how can they implement it. So there are cool things. I see cool things all across the country every single day. Other fundraisers want to know that as well. And you might be, there's this old adage, you might be thinking like, well, what if I train my fundraisers and then they leave? Hey, fundraiser, before you sign up for another fundraising conference where you might leave with a good tote bag but zero strategy to raise more money, let me invite you to Major Gift Momentum. This is my private coaching group where you'll get weekly coaching calls with me, access to my full Major Gift curriculum, and a community that's actually moving the needle. Major Gift Momentum isn't based in theory, it's based in action. Members are closing 5- and 6-figure gifts within 3 months of joining. Heather just closed a $245,000 gift. Jacelyn just closed a $212,000 campaign gift. And Georgette just got a $500,000 commitment. All within 3 months of joining Momentum. Each of these Momentum members didn't think the donor would give that much, but once I taught them my method, they are raising money at a whole new level. So would you like in, fundraiser? If you do, go to heyfundraiser.com/momentum and let's get started. Well, what if you don't and they stay, right? Like just think about that. The other thing, I've managed fundraisers for a long time. And when I lived in DC, I had 18 fundraisers that reported, in various ways, reported up to me. Every quarter, I would try to sit down with every single one of them, even if they didn't report to me, and ask them, like, where do you want to be in 3 years? What keeps you here? And the really interesting thing is, when I first started having these meetings, like I was new in the job and I knew retention has been a problem for a real decades. So at this job, I would have these quarterly conversations. When I first started, it was really interesting to hear what people would say. The staff would say, I want to be at this other job. I want to be a director of philanthropy. I want to be in an ED somewhere at an organization that I love. Well, as the years went on, and every quarter, I would sit down with them and say, have you thought any more about where you want to be? How can I help you be successful? Well, like a year later, those answers started changing and they weren't wanting to go outside the organization anymore. They were wanting to stay. The best answer for me is, like, where do you want to be in 3 years? I want to be in your seat and I want to be telling you all the amazing things that we've done. That was like the most amazing answer. So really talk about growth. Figure out where your successful major gift officers, where they are, and invest in their growth. It will pay off in dividends. The second pillar when you're managing fundraisers is flexibility. I mean, the donor work does not happen from 9 to 5. Let's not pretend that it does. So, flexibility is it's measuring results in like relationships moved and gifts closed, not did this person work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and did they only take 60 minutes exactly for lunch? That's not flexibility. It's also autonomy over their own calendar and portfolio strategy. They're out there working with the donors. They know what each of those donors needs to get closer to make a gift. Give them that autonomy. Don't be like the meeting police. I once had a job where you had to turn in a form every end of the month with all of your meetings. And it almost felt childish. Like that big brother was kind of watching, and it was not a satisfier among staff. And staff were that place was like a revolving door. Flexibility is also like comp time after galas and evening donor meetings. And, when you have events, the following week needs to be maybe a little bit lax because they worked all weekend long. Or if you are taking the donor to the symphony and that fundraiser isn't going to be home till midnight, don't expect them to be there at 8 a.m. Like they just spent the entire evening with a donor. And then also flexibility, and this one's huge, is working from where the donors actually are. You have to trust that your people are getting the work done. Trust is probably the cheapest retention tool you have, and it's the first one your people are going to notice. Let them, if they need to work from a coffee shop because they have 3 donor meetings that day and you're not even going to see them in the office, that's a good day for a fundraiser. So the flexibility is really important. And just to share some horror stories, because we need to look at that as well. I've seen too many shops where they'll say something like, "Oh, you have unlimited PTO and an unlimited time off," but nobody really feels safe actually taking it because there's like a punishment. Or like there are some organizations that you have remote work, but there's surveillance software on your computer to make sure like your computer's on. Like that's distrust. That is the very opposite of trust. Or it's the same rigid schedule applied to kind of everyone in the building. I mean, here's the thing. I know fundraisers are different because they're not internal facing. They don't do programming inside your building if you have a physical building. Their efforts are really focused external. And so you shouldn't have the same rigid schedule applied to different roles, frankly. So if you can be flexible, you will build trust. And when you have trust, your people will stay. Okay, so the third thing is servant leadership. So Robert Greenleaf, I think back in the 70s maybe, started this whole concept of the servant leader. And this is where, you serve the person. You really are invested in the people that you manage, in their growth, in their happiness, in their fulfillment, like all the things. And I'm going to say something really blunt. People they don't really leave organizations. They leave the person that they report to. Like 9 times out of 10. So I want to give you a couple strategies so that you can implement servant leadership. So we talked a little bit earlier about, just here's your goals and you need to meet this goal and they have no say in their goals. Well, try building goals with each gift officer with their actual real pipeline. Right there is a huge, not only does it build trust, but it builds the attainable goal. Like instead of saying to a fundraiser, like, how many calls did you make this week? The thing that I found that helped me best help my fundraisers is say, what do you need from me to move this gift forward? How can I help you? And then listen and then do the thing. Another big one is passing blame down, but taking credit up. So, a lot of managers, if something goes wrong, they blame the staff below them. But when something goes right, they take the credit to their manager. And I would urge you to do the opposite, take the blame up and pass the credit down. It will change your life. The other thing that happens a lot in nonprofits is priorities can shift. So, just so this is said out loud, your programming should drive philanthropy. The philanthropy should never drive the programming. But oftentimes, donors or board members or some external factor, could be a grant funder, like dangles a shiny gift and says, oh, if you consider doing this, which might be mission drift, then we'll make this massive gift. I would highly recommend that you shield the team from all of those like shifting priorities and, shifting things that are happening at the leadership level so that they are so protected from all of those things. And fundraiser, at the end of the day, if you are managing fundraisers, every week, ask them, what do you need from me? How can I help you be successful? So I want to give you my 5 favorite KPIs for measuring major gift officers, because what you measure matters. And whatever you measure is where people are going to spend time, especially fundraisers. Fundraisers like to meet goals, they like to do the things. So if you're measuring, I want them to make 50 calls, well, they're going to make 50 calls, but maybe 5 of them were actually substantive. So here are my favorite 5 KPIs. One is 10 meetings a month, face to face. This is going to shock you. This should be the ceiling, not the floor. I have found that asking for more just invites padding with like easy stewardship lunches. Like at one point in one of my jobs, we had to do 18 meetings a month. And that was okay. But if I or a colleague were having trouble getting to the 18, we would I'm just going to be very frank, we would just go meet with somebody just to meet with them. We'd go meet with a doctor, we'd go meet with a patient, we'd go, meet with a former board member. And then that was just time. It wasn't time wasted, but it wasn't moving a gift anywhere. So instead of having 15 really quality meetings, we would get in trouble if we didn't have 18 just not so quality meetings, which made no sense to me. So I try to get my fundraisers to do 10 a month. The portfolio coverage should be 80%. 80% of your portfolio should have a meaningful two-way dialogue touch point every quarter. And this, not only does it keep portfolios from becoming too big, it actually keeps portfolios equitable in a way, because that way you can't, like the fundraiser who's been there the longest typically has all the best prospects. And if prospects are just sitting in someone's portfolio and not being moved, they're not going to meet their coverage number. And that's going to shine a big light on who's parked in people's portfolios. Okay, third metric is 5 asks per quarter. 5 asks per quarter at whatever your major gift threshold is. And what this does is it just keeps gift officers seeking and asking for gifts all year long, and not just like at a year-end sprint. Like it just keeps everybody's eye on the ball. Next is that 25% of your portfolio needs to make a major gift. Okay, this also stops you from having a massively huge portfolio, and it makes sure that you're working your portfolio and not other people. Like you just don't have time for those easy stewardship lunches because you need, 1 out of 4 or 5 to make a major gift. And then the last thing is the dollar goal. And that should be set per gift officer based on tenure, based on experience or a region. And it should be attainable by design so that your gift officers build confidence in meeting their goals. Now, these 5 KPIs, they only take 4 things to put into your database. And I do that because I don't want gift officers to be stuck at their desk entering razor's edge actions. So you have to track your portfolio. You have to track your asks. You have to track how much you ask for. And you have to track your substantive moves. That's it. So once you're measuring that, that's going to help you lead in a much better way. Okay, 4th thing, and this is so important, is give them the time to have a life worth talking about. Now, you're probably thinking, what? Okay, think about how your donors spend time. I mean, they're going to new restaurants, they're going to traveling exhibits that have come to town, they're going to the Taylor Swift concerts, they're going to see the play or the symphony. Your gift officers need to live life. When they live life, they have better, deeper conversations with their donors. They can see they would say like, oh, I just saw the newest play down at the Fifth Street Theater, and and the donor will say, oh my gosh, I saw that too. And it allows you to build a lot more connection. So they need to be out experiencing the community. They also need to be out and experiencing your programming. So I try to get my gift officers to do some sort of monthly program immersion where it's like on their calendar. They're going out and seeing things. They have their own stories. I mean, they can articulate so much more when they've actually seen the programming firsthand. And, if the programming is happening in another country or somewhere else, just Zooming with a program expert for 20 minutes to say, give me the best story that you've had in the last month and, 3 amazing things that have happened. So keep equipping your gift officers with things to talk to your donors about. And that needs to be out in the community, and it needs to be your programming. I mean, the other thing is, think about if let's say your gift officers, I don't know why I'm coming back to the symphony so much, but let's say they go to the symphony on Saturday night and they don't work for the symphony, but then they see a donor at the symphony, and your gift officer and the donor decide to go out for a glass of wine after the symphony. Like, that is important. It's important for them to be seen in the same light and in the same venues that the donors are hanging out. So I just say that because giving them time and giving them a life worth talking about and giving them experiences with the programs is huge. Okay, fundraiser, we talked about a lot today. I mean, you want to keep your gift officers, invest in their professional development, be flexible with them, exercise servant leadership, and measure only what matters, and give them time. Don't let your gift officers work from 8 to 8 every day. They need to be home with their kids. They need to be going to, the 8th grade graduations and all the things that make them human, because humans connect with humans and your donors are human. Okay, so fundraiser, I do want to challenge you a little bit to really think about how you can change things so that your gift officers stay. So the first thing I would advise you to do is sit down with every gift officer and ask them, what would make you stay for 3 to 5 years? And just listen and let them say anything that's on their minds without reacting. Second is, as soon as you can, put a professional development dollar amount in the budget. It can be this year's budget or next year's budget. Just start to create a budget for them. Oh, and by the way, let them pick the professional development opportunities. So, a little side story. So, I was working with this organization. The executive director loves AFP, Association of Fundraising Professionals. And of course, we all love AFP. But some of their gift officers, wanted to go to a case conference, while some of the operations people wanted to go to like an APRA conference. And the executive director just will not let them seek out the professional development that they really want. And so they feel stuck. And so from his perspective, he's like, oh, I'm investing in their professional development. From their perspective, it's like, I don't really even have a choice in where I go get what I need to learn. So budget for it and then let them pick. And then as you're thinking about goals, whether your fiscal year ends in October or December or June, start to think about goals with your gift officers. It's really going to build trust, and it's really going to help you build attainable goals. Okay. And then in the next, 3 months, try to get your people out into the field so that they can see your programming or, talking to program experts. And then I would highly recommend a quarterly growth conversation. And this is not a performance review. This is, how can I help you grow in this job? How can I help you be successful in this job? Even just asking it, the questions are huge. I mean, you're putting massive deposits into the emotional bank account when you genuinely care, and you genuinely want to know how you can help. So pick some of these small kept promises, beat like a grand plan that nobody finishes every single day of the week. So one of my personal missions is to keep not only fundraisers in their jobs, because here's the thing, it costs the organization a lot, right? $128,000, but it's so much more. It's not great for the people who you serve, that your organization serves. It's not great for the donors. I mean, think about if you love, love, love an organization and you've been giving to that organization for 10, 15 years, and then every other year you have a new gift officer, and that gift officer asks again, oh, what inspired your first gift? And you have to tell the organization again, what inspired the first gift? Like, it's not a good look for the donors. And it doesn't, I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, why can't they keep people? Like, I love this organization so much, but there's so much turnover. So it's not good for the people you serve. It's not good for the donor, and it's not good for the fundraiser because they can't meet goal. They can't build the type of relationships that they want. So I'm hoping that you can take some nuggets from today's podcast and implement, because a gift officer that stays longer will raise money in quicker period of time and build deeper relationships with your constituents. Okay, fundraiser, go keep your best gift officer. Fundraiser, thank you for being here. This work you do, it matters. You are the bridge between generosity and impact, and don't let anyone, including the hard weeks, convince you otherwise. If today's episode gave you something useful, please pass it along. One share, one text to a colleague, one review on Apple Podcasts. That's how this show reaches the people who need it most. Come find me at heyfundraiser.com, and I'll see you next Friday.